Live. All right. Well, hello everybody. I'm Marley with the site Namely Marley, and as you know, I love preparing plant-based and vegan recipes and sharing them with you. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be talking about vegan peanut butter balls. This is my favorite topic this time of year because I just have fond memories of them. It seems like I've always had people in my life that have made them for me, and given to me in gift baskets. And so then I started making my own because I loved them so much. And they are really nice to give out as gifts. So they're great to have just around for the family. Also, just to give as gifts to neighbors or teachers or anybody that you might think of that you would like to give them to. So I like having a vegan version. I think it's really just a friendly thing. It's just, I don't know, it feels like the holidays to me. So I hope it feels like that to you as well. And let's talk about how you make them. Very first thing we're going to go over is the ingredients. So for the filling, you'll need peanut butter. I use 1 cup of peanut butter, 1 cup of graham cracker crumbs, powdered sugar, and I have some vegan butter that you can see here that I've softened a little bit. Do you see that? Okay. And then for the topping, I have just some chocolate chips, and what I use is coconut oil. You can see that I'm using refined coconut oil, but you can unrefined is fine as well. The difference between the two is that the refined coconut oil has less coconut flavor and the unrefined will have more coconut flavor. So I personally love the flavor of coconut and chocolate together, and combined with peanut butter is just an added bonus. So, but it's up to you, totally fine. You can also have some other things that you might put on top, like these are some Christmas sprinkles that would look really pretty on top of these peanut butter balls, or this is some super flaky salt, and that works really well too.
Can you ask people if they're hearing you all right? And tell us in the chat.
If there's anybody in the chat, just let me know if you're hearing me all right. We're a little concerned that the audio's not right. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So many technicalities to work out on these lives. Can you not hear? You're trying to hear the sound and you can't hear it?
I can't tell if it's coming through or not.
Okay. Well, that also reminds me to say, if you're here and you have any questions as I go along, we'll be checking the live feed and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Lydia says yes.
Oh, Lydia, hi. It's so nice to see you again. I'm so glad that you're joining us, and I feel like I was thinking about you because I saw somebody that you had your same name, and it's kind of an unusual name, and I'm trying to think. It seemed like she said it was a nickname for her name. Anyway, I've been thinking about you, and I'm so glad that you're here. So let's go ahead and start making the filling for these peanut butter balls. It starts with peanut butter, and I want to tell you this little trick that I did, which is before I measured the peanut butter, I added a little bit of olive oil to the measuring cup to make the peanut butter come out of the measuring cup a little bit easier. So let's just see if it works. I'm sure it does because I've done it many times. You can see it's not 100%. It still leaves some residue, but that's pretty good compared to, I'm sure if you've ever tried measuring out peanut butter and you're left with a big mess, it's no fun. We'll add these graham crackers. Now, I have in the past made these without peanut butter, and in that situation, you add more powdered sugar to get it a little bit thicker.
Without peanut butter?
I'm sorry, did I say peanut butter? I meant without graham cracker crumbs. I also wanted to point out, these are super fine graham cracker crumbs, but I just used graham crackers and ground them up in a food processor. You can see that's pretty fine. But you can also use other things like Rice Krispie treats. That works really well.
Rice Krispies.
I'm sorry. I must be on another planet today. I don't know. Yes, Rice Krispies cereal. I must have Rice Krispies. I have sweets on the brain. Okay, so here is 1 cup of powdered sugar. I'm going to pour that in. And I've got some vegan butter that I've softened up just a little bit. Okay. So here we go. We're going to stir this all together. If this is not the easiest Christmas treat, I don't know what it is. um, the other thing I wanted to point out to you is that you can use some alternative sugars if you're looking for something with more of a 0 calorie. In fact, I found a new one if you want to hear about it. I thought I was going to have that sitting out and I forgot. Allulose is a sugar that you can add. It's sugar free, and you can substitute the powdered sugar with this. There's other sugars that you can use that are 0 calories. You just have to make sure you find one that tastes the way you want it to. And so I would recommend experimenting to get it just right. You know, some sweeteners are just have an aftertaste, but I have been using this one in my tea and I haven't noticed an aftertaste yet. So I'm gonna just get a spoon and just kind of help distribute this a little bit better. I also find that if it's just not stirring well, you can microwave it for a few seconds, because if it's like here and it's chilly out, it may be that things are a little too firm, and heating it up a little bit will make it just right. But this is working out just right. This is exactly what I'm looking for. This is the texture I like. I just want to point out to you that the texture is, it's kind of firm, but not, it's you know, it's sticking to my fingers, you can see that, but it's not too bad. This is going to be very easy to roll up. In fact, we're going to do that next. We're going to roll this into balls, and then I'm going to put that in the fridge as we heat up the chocolate. I'm curious if you've made these before. What do you put? Do you have any different things that you put inside? Because I love seeing other people's recipes and what they add. Like, you know, graham cracker crumbs is a great example of something it's a little different topping. I love the Rice Krispie treats. Sean said that his grandmother always made them with the Rice Krispies inside, not Rice Krispie treats. God. And I can see where that would add that kind of crispy crunch that is so nice. So I just roll it between my two hands like this. Try to get a nice pretty shape. You kind of have a second here to mess around with it to get it just right. I have lined a baking sheet with just some wax paper. What I'm doing is I fill just to kind of get them the same size, I fill it in this cookie scoop, and then I just remove a little bit of it. I think I went too far on that one. So I'm just eyeballing it to make sure these are the same size. You could be exact if you wanted and do a scale, I guess, but so Lydia, you're in let's see, I think you're in Canada, is that right? Is pretty cold there today? I've never made them, but I'm looking forward to making them. That's what Lydia says. I have to warn you, Lydia, they're kind of addicting. I always make sure I make these for a party, because if they're in my fridge, they call to me. They say, Marley, come eat me. Just have one. And one leads to two. So I always like to have these when I'm having a party. People love them. If you want to have a party and people are just excited about the food, this is the thing to make. I'm telling you. So I'm just going to make a few of these so that you get an idea of what they're going to look like, because we're going to make these and then we're going to dip them. You can also if let's say you want to make these ahead of time, you can make this peanut butter batter and then refrigerate it and wait, or you can make the peanut butter balls and then refrigerate those. I think that's a great idea, to be honest, because what happens is once it goes in the fridge, these balls will get firmer, and then you can roll them again and get them exactly perfectly round, if you care about those kinds of things. But we've got a good amount here to deal with. The other thing that you'll find is if you let the batter sit, it will start to absorb more of the graham cracker crust, because there's still some of the graham cracker that's a little bit flaky in there. But if you want to make them right away, when I see the bits like that that are kind of still kind of crumbly, I just work it in with my finger as I'm rolling the ball.
Lydia says she's in Montreal.
Yes, I thought that was right. Yes, just because we talked about Montreal last time. And how much I love it there. Okay, I'm going to roll the rest of these later, and I thought for today's demonstration this would give you a pretty good idea. So while we're working with the chocolate, what I'm going to do is put this in the freezer. So here I go over to the freezer. I'm going to wipe off my hands because, you know, I'm messy. 45 degrees and raining. Is that, when you say it's not your usual temperature, is that because it's a little bit warmer than normal? 45 sounds like it's probably warmer. It's around 45 here today, isn't it? Yeah, so it's about the same here. I'm gonna wipe off my spoon. I do recommend having paper towels around when you're making this recipe because it gets a little bit, it does get a little bit messy. It has the potential to get a little bit messy, let me say it that way. Okay, so let's switch over to the chocolate. So now I've got here 1 cup of dark chocolate chips. We get ours from Costco because they're made without dairy. Sprouts also has dairy-free. Enjoy Life is another great brand that has dairy-free. So they all work. I'm going to add just around a teaspoon of coconut oil to this. And what happens when you add the coconut oil to the chocolate is it just makes it a little bit thinner so that when you go to dip the peanut butter balls in the chocolate, it's a little bit easier. You don't even have to use the coconut oil if you don't want to, but I really do like using it. So this goes in the microwave. I'm going to do it for a minute. I also really like using, you can use white chocolate, and now these days I feel like it's so much easier to find dairy-free white chocolate. Enjoy Life has a really good brand of white chocolate chips, and I think to have some on a plate that are both dark chocolate and white chocolate, or maybe the dark chocolate has a strip of white chocolate over the top would be beautiful. I also thought we could talk a little bit about these sprinkles. If you're going to add anything like sprinkles or some flaky sea salt, I highly recommend doing it while the chocolate is still wet, because once that chocolate is firm, it's nearly impossible to get these to stick. So that's why I have those sitting out now. Hold on, I'm going to get some things out of our way. Okay, our chocolate is pretty close. I'm just going to give it a stir. Again, this is 1 cup of chocolate chips, and 1 minute in the microwave did a pretty good job, but I'm going to actually give it some more time. This was, my friend Karen gave me this. Isn't this pretty? I like to use it as a spoon. I mean, I think it's for tea, a tea bag holder, but I like to have something around to put my spoon on. Sean should be very happy about that because it creates less mess. If you ever see my kitchen after a day of preparing things for the holidays, it can get kind of messy around here. You should see Sean's face. He's like... Lydia's going to make these for Christmas. Yay, I'm so glad to hear that. They're just wonderful. We always have a dessert table at our holiday dinner. And I think having these sitting there, it's just, I don't know, it's very festive. It's very pretty. Okay. I think that's really close to being the kind of melted chocolate that we want. And you can see where adding the coconut oil made this chocolate just a little bit thinner. That'll make the dipping process go faster. Okay. I'm going to put the spoon over here. Now we've got our peanut butter balls. They've been sitting in the freezer, so they're a little bit cold. Now, I was going to show you something I did. So for dipping purposes, you can use a fork, but I went to the thrift store and got an old fork, and then I used some pliers and just pulled them apart. I find this is perfect for dipping things in chocolate, and so it was just a cheap little fix that I had. So I just put the peanut butter on this, and then we'll just roll it around a couple of times. And then because those tines are pulled apart, the chocolate will just dip out of it much faster. I always also have a toothpick handy. I don't know if you can see that. And what I'll do, because you see all that chocolate that's kind of goopy at the bottom, that'll create a pool around the bottom of the peanut butter ball, and I don't like that. So what I do is I just use that toothpick to kind of clean off the bottom. And then I also use it to help me get that chocolate ball or chocolate on the paper. So let's do another one. Okay, so you can see how this goes.
I suppose if you wanted even more chocolate, you could double dip them.
You totally can double dip them. In fact, what we're gonna do next is put these in the freezer or you can put them in the fridge to help the chocolate set more quickly. If you're in no hurry at all, leave them sitting up out on the counter. That way the chocolate will get nice and shiny, and that's perfect. But I'm always in a hurry. And so I always put them in the fridge to let the chocolate set, and it only takes a few minutes for the chocolate to set. But for today's purposes, I'm actually going to put them in the freezer. And sometimes you can find when you do that, when the chocolate sets faster like that, it won't be as shiny. So a second dip in the chocolate is never a bad thing. Would you agree with that, Sean? Sean likes his chocolate. Okay. Now, I wanted to. You can also use 2 spoons if you don't want to mess with the fork or any of this stuff. You can use 2 spoons and kind of hold them together like chopsticks, I guess, and that works as well. I'm going to do one more so you get that idea of what we're doing here. Just get my toothpick here. This one's on the very end. I'm going to put that right here, and now I'm going to show you how I add toppings to it. So if you want to add a little bit of flaky sea salt on the top, I'm telling you, it's going to be beautiful. Look at that. Does that not look like designer chocolate? Come on. And just the added flavor of the chocolate is really nice. I'm going to do a couple that have some sprinkles on them. Look at that. It's very festive, very, very pretty, I think. And then another idea is if you let the chocolate sit for a little bit, do you see how this one I accidentally got these nice little ridges? You can, this is especially true after the chocolate sits, but you can come back and just add a drizzle or 2. This chocolate may be still too wet and it's just going to absorb that extra chocolate, but once it sets, you can add little drizzles like that, and that looks very festive. That's where you could also do the melted white chocolate and do little drizzles of white chocolate over it. So I'm going to put this in the freezer and let this chocolate set. And try not to touch anything in the freezer with it, because there's been many a time where I've been putting wet chocolate in the fridge or the freezer, and I ended up tapping things around it, and it's a mess. But I also wanted to talk with you about some questions I think you some people have about this recipe, and that is. Can you use other nut butters? Because if you're allergic to peanut butter, that's kind of an issue with this one. You would definitely want to use something like you can use cashew butter, almond butter, you can use a sun nut butter, so you can make it actually even nut free if you use a sun nut butter. So yes, feel free to experiment. I even have a recipe on the site for tiger nut butter, which is not technically a nut, but it's completely nut free, so that would be something that you could use. So if you're using a different nut butter or a different alternative to nut butter, you might want to give it that dough a taste and make sure you like the flavor. You can also add a little bit of vanilla extract or just a little bit of something to add more flavor to it. So anyway, I just want you to know that you have options there. And let's see, what other questions did I have? How do you store them? Because you want them to last for as long as possible, at least as long as they're not being eaten. And so we keep them in the fridge in an airtight container, and they last about a week. They can even last longer, to be honest. I just always like to say a week to be kind of extra careful. But they also freeze wonderfully. So once the chocolate has set, just transfer them to a freezer bag and plop them in the freezer. I personally love them frozen. I don't know if you've ever, like, it's just like a Reese's peanut butter cup. So if you've ever put those in the freezer, oh, they're so good. So these are the same way. So what I love about that is if you're having a party in a week and you have time today, you can go ahead and make them today and then freeze them. They'll come out of the freezer looking beautiful and perfect for your party. So yes, that actually answers two questions, because the other one was, can I make them ahead of time? So how do you store them? Can I make them ahead of time? I definitely recommend making them ahead of time. Put on some Christmas music or put on a podcast. I'm constantly listening to podcasts or book. You know, I love to listen to ebooks as I'm in the kitchen, and I always have a book that I'm listening to, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And so anyway, I highly recommend doing that. It's perfect for this particular treat. Let's see what we've got going on. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, Lydia likes the salt idea. Yes, I think salt with chocolate is so good. Now these have only been in the freezer for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and check them. The chocolate is still pretty firm or pretty soft, but you get the idea that another minute or two in the freezer and these are gonna be perfect. And I think they're just ready for a taste test. These are very soft still. But I can't wait another second. I have to have a taste test on them. I can't wait. Mmm. Mm. That is so good. I'm sure I have chocolate all over my mouth now. Let me just. That is delicious. I love the texture of the graham cracker in these. I'm gonna put this down before it melts all over my finger. Because the graham cracker adds just a tiny bit of a crunch to this. It still has a very strong peanut butter flavor, but the texture is firm, and I love that. I also can see where if you did add the Rice Krispies, that it would give you even more of that kind of satisfying crunch. So anyway, these are my chocolate peanut butter balls, chocolate covered peanut butter balls. They're so delicious and so festive, and thank you for joining me today. I really hope that you make them. If you like this video, why don't you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back next week with another delicious recipe for you. Thank you, and Merry Christmas, everybody.